Hi, you're on the Bible Forum. I'm Warren Sprouse. ChristianHeadlines.com posted an article this past week suggesting, by one group at least, that Jesus either was or should have been a Muslim woman. A gender inclusive, polytheistic, multicultural rendition of Handel's Messiah. It's gaining praise from those on the left for its LGBT imagery and its reimagining of Jesus as a Muslim woman. Can you imagine that? Islam is at war with Christianity, any form thereof, and it all has to do with Jesus. They have rewritten Jesus in the biography of Jesus and the ministry of Jesus, but it's definitely a Christian concept. The New York Times posted a complimentary story about the rendition being called Messiah Complex, which was conducted in collaboration between the Against the Grain Theater and the Toronto Symphony Orchestra, a little uptown here. It's a 78-minute film of the performance that can be streamed on the website of Against the Grain Theater, which calls it a daring reimaging or reimagining of Handel's classic featuring voices from across Canada. The singers change much of the lyrics, which originally were written by Charles Jennens, friend of George Friedrich Handel. They did this in the mid-1700s, by the way. Jennens based his text on scripture. The film opens with Britton, a gay man, singing number 2, Comfort Ye My People, as he walks through the Vancouver streets in high heels. The film shows an LGBT pride flag, an LGBT pride painted crosswork, and other LGBT imagery. Moments later, an indigenous woman in the Yukon sings, O thou that tellest good tidings, but tweaks the text, changing the word God to that of Creator. The Creator is here, she sings. Later, a Montreal woman sings He Was Despised, a song that Handel and Jennens wrote specifically about Jesus. But Shayab changes the text so that it references her Muslim mother, who is seen praying to Mecca in the film. They don't pray to Mecca, they pray facing Mecca. She was despised and rejected of men, a woman of sorrows, Shayab sings. Oh, the Mecca thing, that's my idea, it's not in the text. Just because they can write for a big fancy newspaper doesn't mean they know anything. The New York Times posted a story about the performance under the headline, A Messiah for the Multitudes, freed from history's bounds. They left off freed from reality. Messiah Complex was the idea of someone named Joel Ivany, the founder of Against the Grain Theater. He writes, as the Black Lives Matter protests were happening across the world, the silence in the classical music world was deafening, I thought. What if every soloist in this Messiah was indigenous, black, or a person of color? National Review's Kevin Williamson criticized the performance, saying that Messiah Complex is an indictment on modern times, especially compared to the era of Handel. Williamson wrote, you can hijack medieval Catholic imagery for an episode of RuPaul's Drag Race, but you can't really repurpose an episode of RuPaul's Drag Race for anything of any lasting interest, I would add value, because there really isn't anything of substance to hold on to there. That's why this only happens in one direction. You aren't going to see a bunch of traditionalist Catholics looking to put a tridentine spin on keeping up with the Kardashians. Can you recite 20 consecutive lines of poetry written by an American in the last 20 years? Or name 20 living American poets of any consequence? If not, there's a reason for it, Williamson wrote. Messiah, composed in 1741, is going on 300 years of continuous production, performance. Is there a single musical work by a North American in our time that we expect to be so nearly universally recognizable in the year 2299? Williamson added, partisans of the cultural tendency that defines itself in opposition to European Christian civilization, broadly understood, will in all likelihood continue to fail to produce a high culture equal to the achievements of that civilization, even as we moderns excel in what we used to call Western civilization in terms of technology. Theirs, Dante, ours, Twitter. It probably will be Christian scholars a millennium or two hence, and perhaps return to the monastery, who write the definitive history of our high-tech barbarian civilization, poring over old photos of Whoopi Goldberg dressed as a nun and Ricky Gervais posed as Saint Sebastian.